Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Travel Tuesday. I'm in the studio with
Ava Smith.
of Royal View Travel, and we're going to be discussing more of our backstory of travel and being in business and being involved in business. But first, let's check in with one another. How are you, Ava?
I am doing wonderful, Lady Nick. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm already getting
Good.
feedback about our podcast. What about you?
I am. I'm getting feedback. As a matter of fact, I was in Chicago and this guy was opening a door for me and he said, "Hey, I was listening to you this morning." And I thought, "Really? You were listening to me?" I'm not on TV yet. It must have
Really?
been through Talk.
That's kind of awesome.
Yes, yeah, it was awesome. It was a gentleman, Mr. Briscoe, and that was good to know. So I felt really good about that.
Oh, cool. Well, we started talking about our backstory last week about how we are both in business and we're both now in the travel industry. But why don't you go ahead and let's backtrack and update people who didn't listen before about your backstory and who you are as not only a travel agent, but also a business person who has decades of experience under your belt.
All right. Well, I been in, well, had been past tense in corporate America for over 25 years, and I remember I started working downtown Chicago at CNA Insurance when I was 18 years old, and that was my first corporate job. I've even have a background of working at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange as well as the Board of Trade. And then that eventually went into working at the Chicago Sun-Times. And I think I told you a funny story before about the news column writer, Irv Cupson. And I used to see him every morning, Irv Cupson from Cup's column from the
Mm.
Chicago Sun-Times. And for me, as a young woman in my early 20s, that meant a lot. And so I do have administrative background, and I would assist different executives for different departments, um, and then there's a little bit of an insurance background that I have. Um, so I always was interested in travel because I'm a right brainer. I see colors, I see the outdoors. I like the trees, the color of the trees, the animals, and the people. I could sit and watch people walk by, downtown Michigan all day. Just give me hours to do nothing. I could sit on a bench and be just fine. But I'd rather sit on the beach.
True.
but other yeah, yeah. But other than that, Lady Nick, having a corporate background, I didn't want to sit lock, locked up in a cubicle anymore. And that could be quite confining when you have a cubicle and the only chance that you get to get out of that cubicle is during certain break times and possibly a 30-minute or an hour lunch. So definitely not the personality that should be trapped up like that. How about you?
Me, I'm thinking while you're talking, and I'm remembering my temping days when I first got out of school, and how you say, it wasn't that for me I needed the discipline, I needed the confinement, I needed someplace warm to head in, especially on cold days in Chicago. But like you, once the summer hit, it
Uh-huh.
was like I got to be outdoors. I have to experience fresh air. I loved it when I was working downtown and I could be right by the river. Those moments were times when I was just like, okay, I can deal with corporate America. I didn't want to stay. I'll visit, but I'm not sticking around. So eventually, with my business background, eventually I went to being a small business owner, but still you needed financial consistency. So when you offered the travel business
Hmm.
to me, it was like a perfect fit, for me to be traveling around as I love to do anyway. For me to be talking to people because my heart is in event planning, then it was like another element, another portion of my life, where I definitely get to make decisions on, where to go, what to do, and who to speak to. So when I took control back over, my destiny and, financial decisions, it was pretty much, how you say, the turning point for me to say, I'm going to travel and see the world, see the colors, see the people,
Yeah.
taste the food, enjoy the music. I don't want to stay cooped up, in a 9 to 5 anymore. That was then, but this is now.
Lady Nick, I used to work at the Mercantile Exchange and at the Chicago Board of Trade with a lot of traders that would, during the weekend, they would always talk about different places that they were going and, going to Puerto Vallarta and Cancun and even places that I had never heard of. I'm like, oh, where's that? Oh, yeah, it's an island way off the islands of Waikiki. And it was very interesting. And I thought, wow, will I ever see those places, one day? And so, what a great industry to be in the travel industry. Always able to look at pictures and then sometimes get on a plane and get to those places myself. I do have a goal to get to Haiti with you one day.
Oh, yes. This is definitely a plan we are pursuing, cuz while you were talking, I was thinking about, event planning, and this month during December, what we're doing is covering heart health and being focused especially on travel. When I went to Haiti, it did my
Hmm.
soul so good to be around mountains and
Wow.
oceanside and driving. It's like
Yeah.
you can't, the internet does not do it justice. You have to travel, you have to go places and experience that environment. So this month, while we're focusing on heart health, why don't you mention one of your favorite places that sort of kind of or definitely made a pivot point change in your mind about just being out and about, certain culture or certain people?
You know what, Lady Nick, I would have to say Israel. Israel was absolutely life changing for me um, because there were parts of Israel that looked like Arizona. There were parts that looked like Colorado. And then there were parts that looked like Miami and Florida. And so there were areas that we went where there were mountains, and then there was the Sea of Galilee, and then there was the Mediterranean Sea, and then there was the Jordan River, which I thought was actually pretty big, but it's very small. But the landscape of Israel never changed from biblical times. So, just walking through that land and seeing the rock, and then looking in another area, going into the mountains of Qumran and Masada, they're actually palm trees that are growing in the desert. And I thought, oh my gosh, how
It's like seeing
can
an
a
oasis,
palm
right?
tree it's like sitting in an oasis. You got palm trees, date trees, mango plants, orange plants, but banana trees, olive trees, all growing out of the same soil. And even though I know that Israel was a part of Africa at one point, the ground, the land is so rich that they never have to welcome imports from other country. They just export. And I'm sure it's like that in Haiti and different parts of Africa and even all over the world. But it just takes a moment to really appreciate the land. And I that was life changing for me.
And I think
For the
you,
guide to tell me that he had
no, go
uh-huh.
ahead. I apologize.
No, there was a guide. He said, "Oh yeah, in my backyard I have a orange tree, a apple tree, and a mango growing in my backyard."
You
And
know,
I
I
thought,
think
"Really?"
about, yeah, I think about that, and I'm like, you know what? It's different when that's why we are definitely in a great field of just travel, because talking about it, it's like we have so much to share with one another, but definitely we have more
Yes.
certified travel agents that are experienced, in different culture. So because I want you,
Right.
I can tell you how I felt when I walked into a land where I didn't know the language at all. You know,
Okay.
it's an amazing feeling to try to learn how to communicate, to another person,
Hmm.
how much you appreciate what they have. You said because you're talking about a land where
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sure I can go there. I wouldn't know exactly how did you deal with it?
Because I had been studying Hebrew and, studying the Jewish people, it just, but yet you still don't understand the culture until you've gone several times and you're among the people. Um, it's just an experience where you're really humbled. And then it's like, right now, my words don't mean too much. Let me just observe and learn the culture and learn the people. Because even in Western civilization, we have our own culture and different things that we do that we don't even think is it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And I love going into areas. I love, even Lady Nick, you ever just go into stores, like I've gone into Polish delis, or um, in the Latino community, going into stores just to see what are the type of foods, and just to talk to the people. I could stand by the deli and just have a conversation with people waiting on meat and cheeses.
I could
So
do
even
that,
while you're at home, yeah. Do you
but
do that?
no, I would wait. Usually what happens is people come up to me and start
Okay.
talking. So I'm thankful for that because I'm outgoing, but I'm not that outgoing. You're a little bit more outgoing than me. Thank goodness. We need that balance. But you
Yeah.
you hit on something very important, that one thing I do recommend, that if you've never traveled or it's your first time traveling to a foreign land or a distant place,
Hmm.
in Chicago, we're definitely thankful that we have multiple communities, within our, you can ride a train or a bus, just to get to a specific area which is not of your own.
Yeah, right here in Chicago.
And you can actually, let's say we have a listener who lives, let's say in Texas or in Florida, and they travel to some place like, Israel or even Haiti. Then one thing you gotta at least learn a little bit of the language, but
Right.
be content in knowing a lot of your visit is going to be listening.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Just listening and observing and actually using a lot of wisdom, you know,
Yep.
because sometimes it's just best to be quiet.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break, but we'll be back for part 3 of the backstory. And stay tuned because we have so much more to talk about on Travel Tuesday.
Yes. Bye.